Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams and welcome back to another Vlogmas video. I cannot believe we are so close to the end of Vlogmas and finally I'm going to start talking about goals, how I did in 2021 and what are some of my goals for 2022. I have a lot of thoughts going through my mind and I'm currently in the process of transferring journals. This is one that I have been keeping track in for a couple of years, but I don't love it. And so earlier on this year, I bought this new yellow one and I just thought I would start putting some stickers on there and let this be my bookish journal. I am not a bujo person, a bullet journal person. I'm not going to use it for my planner or anything like that, but keeping track of goals and book lists and things like that, I'm going to love using this for those purposes. So I have transferred in here, it's not actually up to date, but I have transferred in here my 2021 goals page, and we're going to go through all of these eventually. Today, I'm just going to talk about two of the goals that are in here, and they are number 5 and number 6 authors and my Susan Meissner books. So these are the same general goals that I've had now for a couple of years, and it's really been working for me. And I'm going to be doing it again for 2022. So today we're going to talk about the 6 authors that I owned 3 or more books of and wanted to read at least one of those books in 2021. We're going to see how I did on that. And we're also going to talk about my list of Susan Meissner books and how I did in reading all of those. That was 2 of my goals that I wanted to do this year. So first we're going to start off with the 6 authors that I wanted to read. And I can tell you that of the 6 authors, I read at least one book from 5 of them. I'm so excited about that. So I owned 3 books from Jamie Jo Wright: The Reckoning at Gossamer Pond, The House on Foster Hill, and The Curse of Misty Wayfair. I read 2 of these. I'm so pleased with myself. Very early on last year, I read The Reckoning at Gossamer Pond, which I think I ended up giving 5 stars to, and The House on Foster Hill, which I gave 4 stars to. I really enjoy Jamie Jo Wright. She is a Christian author, but her books have this, first of all, they're a dual timeline with a historical element, and they also deal with some kind of an issue that you don't expect right from the outset, which I loved. There was also a spooky kind of mystery, thrillery aspect to them, which I really enjoyed as well. There's a slight romance, but it's definitely not like a historical romance. It's definitely more along the lines of a mystery / thriller. A little bit of creepy, a little bit of what on earth is going on, along with this historical element. I'm not going to get into too much about what the books were about, but I did complete that goal in reading 2 of my 3 Jamie Jo Wright books. I think I have 2 more of her books on my wish list, because I really did like her and would love to read more from this author. The second author that I wanted to read some from, that I own 3 books again from, is Lauren Wolk. This is a middle grade author. I own the Beyond the Bright Sea, which I think is a Christmas exchange book. Yep. Wolf Hollow and Echo Mountain. And I did read Echo Mountain last year during middle grade March and really enjoyed it. I have heard such high praise for Wolf Hollow, so I really, really want to read that one. And then it is a goal of mine to read all my Christmas exchange books, and I did receive this one from, I believe, Lindsay. So this is going to, I want to continue reading Lauren Wolk, which is fantastic. That's kind of the point of this goal. I have a tendency to buy multiple books by an author. This is why it's been a goal for the 2022 will be my 3rd year having this goal. But I tend to buy books from the same author before I have read any of them. And so the purpose of this goal is, do I really want to continue reading from this author? And I absolutely want to read these other 2 books I own by Lauren Wolk and keep my eyes open for any new ones that she comes out with. The 3rd author I'm going to talk about is Pam Jennoff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I feel like I have another, well, the one that I read is not in this stack. I did read one, The Orphan's Tale, and I just read it last month, I believe. Yeah, in November. But I have not yet read these ones. The Diplomat's Wife, Last Summer at Chelsea Beach, The Winter Guest, The Ambassador's Daughter, which I believe is a sequel to The Commandant's Girl, which I don't own, and The Lost Girls of Paris. So I still have a lot from Pam Jennoff. I did read a library book by her new one that came out this past year, Woman with the Blue Star. Loved it. That was actually my first one. I didn't count it towards my goal because it wasn't one of my owned books by her, but I loved The Woman with the Blue Star. So that made me eager to read another one and cross that goal off. And I did. I read The Orphan's Tale, which I also really enjoyed. Those two were both World War II historical fiction, and I'm pretty positive all the rest of these are as well. I'm not sure. Yeah, this one is too. I wasn't sure about this one, but that takes place in 1941 in Italy. So yeah, all of these are also World War II historical fiction, which is a sweet spot in my reading. I am not one of those people who's over it when it comes to World War II. I know a lot of people feel like the market is oversaturated, and it is highly saturated. I don't know that I'd say oversaturated because I love them. As you can probably see, my library room is just a real mess right now, and it's starting to get frustrating, but this side of the room on the other side of the camera is a lot of my Christmas storage. My attic is above my head here. It's a pull down. And so instead of bringing the boxes back up after I decorate, I just kind of leave them in this room, which is stressful, and I probably shouldn't have done that. And I just need to get to reorganizing these shelves, but I really want to get new shelves. Long story short, I don't know where my third Fiona Davis book is. The fourth author that I'm also missing one of the books is Fiona Davis, and I did read The Address. I did own 3 books by her: The Address, The Dollhouse, and The Masterpiece. And I just recently read The Address by her. Really enjoyed it. These are interesting because each one takes a building in New York City, and you get a history of that building along with like the historical events happening at that time as we follow a woman in that time period. I like learning a little bit more about New York City. I have visited there many times and been in many of the buildings. The Address was about the Dakota apartment building, and I had never been there before, so I wasn't as familiar with that, but I know The Masterpiece is about Grand Central Terminal, and I have been there. And then The Dollhouse is about the Barbizon Hotel, which I'm not as familiar with either, but they're kind of iconic landmark buildings in New York City. So it's really interesting. And I enjoyed the writing style of The Address, and am very interested again in reading more from Fiona Davis. So yay for that. I had to go get the books for this author, the 5th author that I'm going to talk about. I am so thrilled to say that I also read some books by this author. That is Amy Harmon. And I started the year with 3 books by her. I was graciously sent another one that was on my wish list, Making Faces. I'd like to read everything that she writes because I read First Off from Sand and Ash and absolutely loved it. Then totally different from that one was Where the Lost Wander, which has potential to be among my favorites of the year. Absolutely loved this book. And then the one that I haven't yet read, What the Wind Knows. Well, I haven't read Making Faces either. But the other one that I haven't yet read is What the Wind Knows. And this is one of my 5-star predictions going into 2022. And I absolutely want to read this sooner rather than later. So yay for so far 5 for 5 of the authors that I wanted to read this year. I have done it. And I really enjoyed all of them, and I would love to read more from each of those 5 authors. So it's okay that I have bought more than one of their books before reading them. The final author is the 6th author, and I don't know why I chose 6 in 2020. In 2020, I just did 5 authors I want to read from. I'm not sure why I chose 6 in 2021. If I didn't, I would have been all set, but I did. So I failed. I did not read anything by this author. I have 3. I feel like I have one more that is just in this room somewhere, but I have When Mockingbirds Sing by Billy Coffey. Did I even say this is Billy Coffey? I have When Mockingbirds Sing, Steal Away Home, and There Will Be Stars, and possibly one more. But this is a perfect transition into my goals for 2022 because I am keeping Billy Coffey on the list. I know that he is a Christian fiction author, more contemporary, a possibility for a little bit of magical realism in his books. I am not exactly sure, but I definitely am still very interested in reading from Billy Coffey. But here's the kicker for me. because I have so many gazillions of books in my room, if I go through another year and don't read Billy Coffey, I'm unhauling all of them. I'm giving myself that consequence. I don't really like to do that because I feel like reading goals are just for fun. There shouldn't be any pressure or stress related to them. It's just for fun ultimately, because who cares, right? If you meet your reading goals or not, it doesn't matter. There are no consequences in reality, in life. But I'm giving myself this consequence because I do have so many books on my shelves I want to read. And this is the second time that Billy Coffey is on this goal list. So I either have to read one and decide if I want to keep the rest or get rid of them. But if I don't read one, I have to get rid of him. That is the same for Heather Gutenkopf, because Heather Gutenkopf was on my 2020 goal of reading 5 authors I haven't yet read from. And I still have these 3 books on my shelves and I still haven't read any of them. And that's a shame because we'll talk about it another day, but my recommendations cart, you guys always recommend these to me. At least one of you recommends Heather Gutenkopf to me. And I know Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library has read some of her books and really liked it. I have heard her compared kind of in the same vein, maybe not exactly like, but in the same vein as Jodi Picoult, where Heather Gutenkopf is going to have some kind of a mystery. They're more contemporary, again, kind of like Billy Coffey, but it's going to deal with a relevant issue. I think one of them is about school shooting. I'm not even sure what they're about, but the 3 that I have, and again, I think I have Little Mercies as well, which is the 4th one, and I just don't know where it is, but I think I have 4 from Heather Gutenkopf. One Breath Away, The Weight of Silence, and These Things Hidden. So again, because this is the second time Heather Gutenkopf has been on this list of authors I want to read, if I don't read any of her books by the end of the year, I got to get rid of all of them. The 4th, and this year, I'm actually only going to have 4 authors. I'm going the opposite way. Last year, I gave myself 6, which I'm not sure why. This year, I'm scaling it back and only having 4 because I like having simple, clear, achievable reading goals. That's what I like. And you'll see that as we talk more and more about my goals, but I like simple, clear, and achievable. The 3rd author I would like to read in 2022 is Jennifer Robson. I have 3 books by Jennifer Robson. Technically, I'm supposed to read The Gown this month in December. I just don't think it's going to happen. As it gets closer to Christmas, I just want to read fluffy, fun, romance type of books, contemporary, light, heartwarming. And I think this is going to be too historical fiction for me. Does that make sense? It's going to be too deep, too heavy, and that's just not, maybe a little slower paced. I need fast paced, fun, light reads at the moment. So I don't think I'm going to get to this by the end of the year. So I am including Jennifer Robson on this list. So I have The Gown. I have After the War is Over, and I have Our Darkest Night, which this one was just gifted to me so kindly. This one was also just gifted to me in a box of historical fiction books. So I just hauled these 2 very recently. This one I've had for a while. So yeah, I would really like to read Jennifer Robson. I love historical fiction. I don't know. I'm just really excited to give her a try. The final author of the 4 that I would like to read in 2022 is Jennifer Chiaverini. She's a very prolific author and has a ton of books. I own 3 of her books. I own Mrs. Lincoln's Dressmaker, The Spy Mistress, which takes place here in Richmond. So I'm very interested to read this one. And also Resistance Women, which also just came in that box of historical fiction books from Stacy. So very cool. I love that cover. So I have 2 authors, Jennifer Chiaverini and Jennifer Robson, good old Jennifers, that are historical fiction. And then Heather Gutenkopf and Billy Coffey are a little bit more contemporary. So it's a good little mix. It's a good mix there, I think. But those are the 4 authors that I need to try out in 2022. I would love to hear your thoughts on those 4 authors. What do you think I will think of them? Have you read books by them? Which are your favorites? Where should I start? All that jazz. But before we go, I want to talk about one more goal. And in 2020, this is the first time I've done this. I have author collections. Usually in these bins, on these shelves right here, are like collections of authors that I have maybe more than 3 books from, but I've read some of them. And in 2021, I wanted to read all the books that I owned by Susan Meissner. I don't even know where all of them are. A lot of them are behind my tree on that shelf in my living room, but I do have some of them here. I have 4, and I got really close. Before the year started, I had already read a couple of them, but the ones that I had read previously were The Last Year of the War, As Bright as Heaven, and then A Fall of Marigolds and The Shape of Mercy. I had read those 4 previously to this year, so I did have a couple more I needed to read, and I did make some progress. I did read Stars Over Sunset Boulevard and really enjoyed that one. And I did read Secrets of a Charmed Life, which is not here in this stack. So the 2 left that I haven't yet read, so I didn't quite complete this goal because I did not read A Sound Among the Trees and I did not read A Bridge Across the Ocean. But of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books that I own from her, I only have 2 that I haven't read. So that is a really good percentage. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's really good to only have 2 and have 6 that I have read and 2 that I have not yet read. I'm really pleased with that. So even though I didn't complete the goal 100%, I did make really good progress and knocked out a lot of books by her and she's one of my favorite authors. I really love her books. I actually just read one earlier this month that I listened to on audio that one of my patrons recommended. It's a little bit older. She's a very prolific author as well, and I'm not looking to collect all of her backlist. I think she started out more strongly a Christian fiction author and has kind of transitioned a little more into just historical fiction, but I like her books because you're not going to get sex scenes, you're not going to get swearing. All of the characters are not necessarily going to line up exactly with my value system, but I don't mind that, especially because I'm learning about a time period, I'm learning about these people. I do appreciate that I'm not going to have some things in there that I really just don't like. So yeah, I'm very pleased about my progress with Susan Meissner. And I have decided on another author that I would like to kind of do the same thing. And ultimately, I'd like to read all of these this year, even though I have read some of them before. And that author is, can I lift all these up? Katherine Ray. I have 7 books by Katherine Ray, and I can only really remember these 3 according to Goodreads. I've also read this one, The Bronte Plot, but I don't remember it. But her books that I own are The Bronte Plot, Dear Mr. Knightley, Lizzie and Jane, The Austen Escape. So those are the one. Oh, and one more that's kind of based on other books. The Portrait of Emily Price. And then she has 2 that are more just bookish, of Literature and Lattes, and The Printed Letter Bookshop. So those are the 7 books I own by her. I want to start with these 2 bookish ones and then kind of work my way back and possibly reread some of these ones that I have read before. These are the perfect type of book when you need a palate cleanser after something heavy and you just want something quick and light and fun. These are Christian fiction. Thomas Nelson is the publisher for all of them. Yep. For all of them, and that is a Christian publishing house. So again, you're not going to have to deal with swearing and open door sex scenes or gore or blood or anything like that. They're just heartwarming, delightful reads. And so I'm really hoping to make a good dent in at least the ones that I've for sure never read before, but ultimately I'd really love to read all of them throughout 2022. So we shall see. I have not yet made a page in my journal for 2022 goals yet. I will kind of do that maybe at the beginning of January once I have all of my goals set and have talked about them. I might do kind of a show you my goals and show you my bullet journal and talk about them one more time. But those are 2 goals from 2021 that I'm carrying over to 2022. I would love to chat with you about any of the books that I talked about today. There was a lot of them. Any of the authors that I talked about. How about goals for 2022? Have you started thinking about it? I mean, it's coming up really quick, guys, like 2 weeks and we're there. So I would love to hear what are some of your reading goal ideas for 2022. Have you done this before where you have an author goal or tried to read from new to you authors? I would love to chat about any of this or anything else that you want to talk about in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. I know Vlogmas is coming to an end and still your subscription feeds are probably full of loads of videos to watch. So the fact that you spent time to hang out with me today really means the world to me. And that is it for today. And I look forward to talking to you in another video tomorrow. Bye.